use their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.
This is For the Record with Ort Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Ort Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Friday, the 17th day of May 2019. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable evening and that you're all raring to go today. Those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, I want to say to you, have a happy birthday. Enjoy it. And those of you who are not celebrating a birthday, still enjoy the day as well. For those of you who are on the roads, the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, again, we urge you to be careful, observe the rules of the road, and remember that the life you save may simply be your own. There was one driver this morning who I don't believe that whether he or she had any intention of saving any lives this morning. Driving in the area of Savannah Meadows, a silver sports type vehicle, one of those either two-seater or with a hatchback. It looks somehow like the Porsche, but it may not be a Porsche. I think Nissan makes a similar car. Silver, comes from the east every morning, crossing a line of traffic from in the area of what's the road that you go down to the agriculture ground there? Not Agricola Drive, but the one before that, by near to
the Wattlers.
And Karen Nixon, and them straight down there all the way on the right lane, and there's a row of traffic there. Did the same thing further down as well. And when I got to the roundabout on Prospect Roundabout, there's the car there, but couldn't get close enough to get the license plate.
So you didn't get too far ahead?
Didn't get too far ahead and putting so many lives at risk.
And the last time I checked, the same distance between Eastern and West Bay hasn't
changed.
It hasn't changed.
Yes. Crazy. Now, if this person is going to work, and I'm not sure of any company that would employ a person unless their attitude towards work is completely different from their attitude towards driving and people on the street. But utterly crazy. I can see no benefit from it. I can see no reason why anyone would choose to put other people's lives at risk. So if you know of a silver hatchback, similar to a Porsche, but it may be a Nissan, coming from the east in the morning, and this was at about 20 minutes after 6, between that time and 6:30 this morning. Other drivers would have witnessed that driver as well. I will continue to keep my eyes on the road for that. And if I do discover that license plate, I am going to out that driver, because drivers like that we do not need on our roads in the Cayman Islands. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and, by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy and crazy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Ort Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday Wednesday and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls. This morning, it is that radio voice of Silver Fox, Mr. Paul Akai. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on the telephone, email us at For The Record. That is one word, For The Record, at candw.ky. Follow us up on WhatsApp. You can call us on our WhatsApp number, 925-3261, and you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to the Radio Cayman live stream. It is my pleasure this morning, folks, to have in the studio again on Friday members of the opposition in our legislative assembly. I have Mr. Chris Saunders, Mr. Alva Suku, and fresh back from visiting his cousins in the UK, none other than MLA Mr. Ard McLean. So since he hasn't been here for a few weeks, we're going to start off with him and saying good morning to Mr. McLean first.
Good morning, O.C.
How are you, sir?
I am great, and good morning to the rest of the country and your listening audience. Back, but it was cold. I had fun. I went to visit my aunt, who is ill. Mm-hmm. And people may say, well, where did you get an aunt in England? Well, my dad's father, my dad's brother went to England in the 40s and only came back once. But he had his wife there is 97, and she's gravely ill. So since June, I lost contact with her for 30 years. And since June, I've gotten back in contact with her, and this is my third trip since then to visit with her. Mm-hmm. Short visits, just go out and spend some time with her. And if you don't do it once they're alive, then you lose that opportunity. Mm-hmm. I miss the funeral of my other aunt, one of my favorite aunts, Aunt Marvel. But such is life, like I say, I do it whilst they're alive, and then after they are passed, there's nothing more I can do. And I think we should all look at it from that perspective. Ensure that we like using that cliche, buy the flowers whilst they're alive. Well, I believe that is true. Just do it now, and you will not regret it. Your conscience will be clear, very clear. And you can walk with your head high. I have been so busy, I haven't had the chance to visit my mother for Mother's Day, and I shouldn't have said that because my brothers and sisters are going to kill me. But that is one of my chores today, to go visit my mother for Mother's Day. And those are the special moments in one's life that I really, really enjoy. Family first.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Other gentlemen in the studio, Mr. Chris Saunders, Mr. Alva Suku. Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome back to For The Record.
See today.
Good morning, Lucy.
Older gentlemen.
Thank you. Chris is conceding to the elders in the room.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us back on, and it's always a pleasure to be here and talk about whatever's on people's minds, and of course listen to the feedback that we normally get from your callers. So I just want to say good morning to the Cayman Islands, and hope everybody's listening and willing to listen to us.
And they certainly will. They will listen. Mr. Saunders, good morning, sir. Welcome back.
Morning, O.C. It's great to be back, and I'm glad Arden is here. He's been very busy since he's been back. We've been having a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions on a lot of issues. I know Alva and I have dominated the conversation for the last 2 weeks, so we'll give him an opportunity to, get some of the stuff he wants to get off his chest this morning. Some of the stuff I think is relevant based on what he has raised with us in terms of, what he wants to get done, what he'd like to see get done. I know last week we had briefly touched on the motion that he had gotten passed, that he carried to the Delhi, concerning the concessions in the Eastern District, which I think is actually something that's pretty good. I think it's important for the public and the listeners to recognize that for us, where we stand, it's all about the future, because there is no future in the past, and that's what we need to focus on, how we can make people's lives better.
Okay, and I'm going to crave your indulgence at some point during the show to discuss the in detail, as much detail as we possibly can, especially those areas that are really important to us here in the Cayman Islands, and that would be the Foreign and Commonwealth Office's response to the recommendations made by the Foreign Affairs Committee of the UK Parliament as well. I'd like to discuss that at some point also. Yep. So
I think that's quite interesting.
So we're going back over to Mr. McLean and start the discussion about his motion.
Yep.
Yeah. OC and fellow Caymanians, as a member of Cabinet, Charles Clifford, remember, was responsible for tourism. And we started that program, Go East Initiative. Mm-hmm. And by and large, after we left off, demitted office, that program fell on some somewhat barren ground, so to speak. It wasn't promoted and carried forward as well as I thought it should have, because there needs to be some continuity in politics. Anyway, I saw the need for us to do something with it. The minister did invite us last year to discuss the new tourism plan that they were doing, and we did indicate to him that we were not overly comfortable with that plan, because it didn't clearly define the objectives of this country or the government as to what where we wanted tourism to be and how the people would benefit therefrom. And he was quite receptive. I can say that, can't I, Chris?
Yes, he was. We did ask him, and he did. He was responsive.
He and all his staff, as a matter of fact, and they changed up a lot of it. To say that we are totally satisfied with it, that may be an understatement.
But it was compromised. We did reach some level of consensus in terms of the content, because one of the things that we had asked them to focus on coming into the districts was not just where we are today in terms of our tourism numbers, but where they projected the numbers to be. And then more importantly, the current room stock that we have, and then what we expect the future room stock to be required. And then where we would expect from the public is, what do you expect the room stock to be? So the question is, if we have 5,000 rooms now, and we know in the next 10 years we're going to need, say, another 5,000 rooms, where do we want the room stock? Do we expect it to expand out in the districts? And if not, what do you want it to look like? And if we fall short, are you prepared then for taller buildings or higher buildings on 7 Mile Beach? Mm-hmm. But either way, I mean, tourism is a growing field. But for us also to consider is, even if you're moving stuff going east, you also have to look at the infrastructure in between to make sure that you can actually take the uplift in traffic that's going that side. And so it was part of going out to the district and saying, what do you want your district to look like? Or do you expect your district to play a part in this tourism? And that's pretty much where the conversation started. Now, one of the things that become quite popular for our constituents in the East has been the whole Airbnb concept. I mean, I have had a few people that I've known that have gone out and have done quite well with it. And when we start looking at that, we're like, we can see where that is a growing market within itself. And part of it is because we had originally the motion that calls for 3,000 in cost, 300,000 in cost, and 300,000 revenue as a kind of benchmark. Mm-hmm. And the government compromised in the sense of raising that to 500,000 in cost and 500,000 revenue, so to kind of broaden the net a little bit. But what we're saying to people is that if you want to make renovations to your home, you want to put on a 1-bedroom, you want to add something on, and this is the cost, those stuff will be at basically duty-free. Mm-hmm. in terms of encouraging businesses to go that side. And I think this is a good part of getting most people within getting a piece of the tourism pie. Because what has been our challenge here locally is that there appears to be a pie, but our people aren't getting a piece of the pie, and we're open. At least this little gesture is one step forward in people getting a piece of the pie and up towards their retirement or even up to pay off their mortgage much quicker.
Okay.
And one of the things that I saw at OC, I saw it in BVI. I went there for a couple of meetings privately, and the people arranged for me to stay at one of these little Airbnb things. This is years ago, and it's a little 1-bedroom and efficiency built onto the house, and every morning that little landlady would come out and bring me coffee and breakfast, despite me having a little kitchen in there. So you interact with those with the locals, yes. And we have always said our greatest asset is our people for tourism. Well, I believe, and have been trying. When one is building their homes, we need to change the planning law to affect it. But once someone is building their homes, they should be able to build on a little efficiency. Right now, we got it as a duplex. In the law, you would have to do a duplex. But I'm saying just one little efficiency, and those people, they can rent that out for $100 a day. You know how much money that is per month in somebody's in a family's life?
Certainly is. Time for us to take a break, folks. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas. Arthur Avanda Dilbert, Certificate and Badge of Honor, 1894-1982. Uncle Arthur Dilbert was one of the stalwart men who helped to mold Cayman Brack's history. He was married to Hannah Ebanks, and together they had 5 sons. Uncle Arthur was a carpenter, boat builder, dentist, and coffin maker. He built catboats and schooners and was part owner of the schooner Strive, which was lost in bad weather off Montego Bay. He also built turtle boats, including the Trial for Captain Keith Tibbets and cargo ships for the Kirkconnell family fleet. Uncle Arthur built many homes and helped to build one of the Brack's first Baptist churches, Ebenezer Church at Creek. Much of the original structure is still intact, and the church is very much in use today. He was the Brack's top coffin maker and second best dentist. When Dr. Lawrence took over at the local physician, Uncle Arthur sold him his tools. The tools are now displayed at the Cayman Brack Museum.
Radio Cayman's historical facts vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
When you need stability, think Business of the Year.
Considering a new career opportunity, think Best Place to Work.
When dependability matters, think Outstanding Workforce.
In need of a reliable financial partner, think Bank of the Year.
When you seek excellence, think Cayman National.
No matter how many accomplishments we achieve, we always set the bar higher. That's why we are the most awarded bank in Cayman, and we are proud to be your
2018 Bank of the Year.
Why my wife always asking if I'm in a rush when she's the one always making us late?
Might as well say, yeah, I'm in a rush, and go buy the new Toyota Rush you've been talking about, 'cause they on sale this month. Dial teacher.
The super special spring SUV sale at Vant Motors. Save up to $4,400 with SUVs starting at only $23,500, like the 7-seater Toyota Rush. Save money, get cash back, or use the discount to upgrade features on the SUV of your choice, including the Toyota RAV4, the Fortuner, the Rush, or the Ford EcoSport. It's our super special spring SUV sale only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
I remember playing at 7 Mile Beach as a boy, eating mango by the sea, learning how to snorkel. My mother, she worked so hard to provide for our family so that we could have those moments. Seeing her age has been tough. That strong, capable woman, now in need of daily support, it's my time to be strong for her.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of the careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
They say cleaning your house never killed anyone, but why take chances? Spend your time doing what you love and leave the rest to Roper's Janitorial. Complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential with 24-hour emergency service. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Take back your life and get the job done right the first time. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511.
In support of the Cayman Special Needs Community, present the 11th Annual Open Arms Gala, The Great Gatsby. Saturday, May 25th at Ristorante Papagayo. Cocktails begin at 6 p.m. 3-course dinner, award ceremony, silent auction at 7 p.m. Attire is Gatsby chic. Your ticket is only $100 per person. Your table only $1,500. Tickets available online at eventpro.ky or email president.rotoractblue@gmail.com. The Open Arms Program promotes care, understanding, and non-discrimination for disabled persons. The Great Gatsby by Rotaract Blue. Inspiration to the next generation.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Ort Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It's my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning MLAs Mr. Christopher Saunders, Mr. Arden McLean, and Mr. Alva Suku. Before we went to the break, we were talking about Mr. McLean's private members' motion in their legislative assembly, seeking for special and concessions in relation to development in the eastern end of the island. Mr. McLean, you were talking about that, and one of the things that we recognize now also is the change in demographics as far as our visitors are concerned, and more people are not necessarily interested in being on the 7 Mile Beach corridor, but in many instances now when you visit countries, you want to see what the local life is like. You want to see what the people are like, talk to them, live amongst them. So that in itself, is encouraging.
Well, see, one of the things I've done in my political career was when, as minister, I built a road into Winter's Land so that I could try to develop eco tours, so people could go in there and experience how we lived, Unfortunately, not enough Caymanians and residents do that regularly, and that's the kind of stuff they really need to expose themselves to. East End is considered a drive-through, like North Side. and Bodden Town, you drive through the road, you never know what is in the interior. And I can tell you that the interior of East End and Northside and Bodden Town are beautiful places to visit. And that was my hope. We had one or two that started up the eco tours in East End and fell because I believe the lack of proper being able to have access to finance and that kind of stuff. I am hoping that this will assist in that regard, because you got to remember that stay-over tourism is seasonal, and those off the passenger liners are just as bad, because there's a time it slows down where they don't get tours. The
stay-over isn't as seasonal as it used to.
No, it's not. It's not. Yeah, there's not many peaks and valleys in it any longer. My nephew Shane Noby started up a little bicycle tour.
Yeah, that's a nice thing going there.
He has a very nice thing going there. Now, he has to order, say, bicycles to maintain that and all that kind of stuff. These are the type of little businesses that this will assist. That there's no longer need for business license fee. All those things will be waived, and import fees and that kind of stuff, to encourage people to get into that. The little small businesses. And it's interesting to hear my nephew say that the people, the demographics that come through his little business, I mean, major people who don't want to be known, but once he get into the ride, then they explain who they are. And these are big people in the world, but of course, he has to maintain some confidentiality in that as well, because people come and want to be unknown, but they want to experience that natural thing within the country. And I hope this does that. So it's up to $500,000 if you're starting up a business, or look at just the other day, Chris was talking about the Airbnb. We had this big headline that 1,400 Airbnb vacations or locations were served during the previous year. That's what we need to do. We need to encourage people up in the Eastern End to do that, to do these little Airbnbs, and when we took the break, I was saying you could rent those things for $100 a day. That's $3,000 a month in a family's life. It can pay for school, it can pay for mortgage, it can do all of that, and in a short period of time you can pay off your house, you can school your children, you're not dependent on government. And this does not cover other areas such as Lynn Bodden is doing the little bed and breakfast East End.
Where's that? Where is it?
Just below Tortuga Club. You remember?
Oh, okay. I saw the construction going on here. Yes. Right, and of course, Tortuga's expanding again. Also.
I need to go talk to David as well. He's been calling me, and I'll get to call him back. He wants to expand now as well. That doesn't cover those. They would have to make application direct to cabinet for concessions, and I took up advocating for Lynn, because that's the type of stuff that we need in those outer districts. We don't want to see 12-story buildings and that kind of stuff out there. Of course, we'll always welcome a nice 4 or 5-star hotel from an eco perspective and the likes. And I just signed the papers where someone is going to do something up there on Barefoot Beach. Nobody has even mentioned it to me. They have not even invited me to see it. But I certainly will look into. I understand now who's doing it, so I will certainly contact them. But that's the kind of stuff that East Enders, Bodden Towners, and Northsiders can get into. They don't want the one thing you hear them say is they don't bring in West Bay Beach up there. But on the quiet, they can benefit. They can benefit from this tourism miracle that we continue to have.
Okay.
You know.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Very quickly, 1 minute.
Yeah,
We got less
why
than
I want to.
Sure.
I was so happy Mr. McLean brought this motion is that in my past experience when I was actually in the government caucus, we always had people come in looking for concessions and so on, but it was never a check the box exercise where you qualify, this is what you can get. It was more a bartering, and you had to negotiate your way through it. But what this does now is provide a system where you say, yes, you qualify, here's what you can get.
Template for it,
and it puts it in the reach of ordinary Caymanians. That's what I love about it.
Excellent. When we return, we want to continue to talk about this and also to discuss the knockoff effect in terms of more available rentals for local people as well, because that is one of the things that is in demand and one of the things that is missing. And what can we do? We were seeing the condos springing up all over the place every seaside.
They're out of reach, 600,000-700,000.
Every empty space on the shoreline is now being developed, and what's going to be done for local and those on the low end of the totem pole as well. Time for us to go to our 8 o'clock news. We actually passed it. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Radio Cayman time check is now 8 a.m. This time check is brought to you by Price Right. Live better for less.
Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Price Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
Access to information. Your community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
With your latest news, I'm Karsley Fuller. As part of its ongoing efforts to care for and address the medical conditions of the dozens of dogs seized from a Prospect home last week, the Department of Agriculture on Tuesday invited senior vets from the 3 longest veterinary practices in Cayman to consult with the DOA's veterinary staff. Radio Cayman's April Cummings has more.
The Department of Agriculture says vets from Cayman's Animal Hospital, Island Veterinary Services, and the Vet Clinic met with DOA's team at the Animal Rescue Shelter on Wednesday afternoon. Assistant Director Brian Critchlow says the first and most pressing matter, the presence of parvovirus among the animals. Already, 3 of the dogs have died from it. The team decided to quarantine all animals until the parvovirus issue can be resolved. They say, though, the news isn't all dire. A number of the dogs are reportedly doing a lot better than expected. While there have been numerous requests and offers from the public to adopt the dogs, DOA says unfortunately that process cannot start until the parvovirus outbreak has been successfully resolved and the quarantine is lifted. It could take several weeks. DOA officials also expressed gratitude to the private vets who have stepped in to assist. April Cummings, Radio Cayman News.
And in other news,
I am learning about the safety department, how they cut the pipes to save the people from car accidents, and how good the canine bite is.
Hundreds of school children swarmed Sir Vassal Johnson Hall Thursday morning to learn about careers in public safety. Anita Smith from Work says it was a sight to see.
They're having a good time. They're getting to see demonstrations. I was told that they were setting stuff on fire outside. So, of course, Jaws of Life, all those exciting things the kids get to see. They had a canine demonstration, dog attacking. So it was really good. So I think it's been a good thing for the kids today.
One of the highlights of the experience, aside from the canine demonstration, was hearing from the people who actually work in public safety fields. Every person Radio Cayman spoke to said their work is about a whole lot more than money. Chelsea Blake has been with the Department of Public Safety Communications for the past 15 years.
Most people come and they think it's for a salary, but if you don't love what you do, and the most satisfying part of it is that when you save a life, when you deliver a baby and you hear that baby cry in the background, you go home for the rest of the day satisfied. It doesn't matter what happened during that day, you are satisfied that you have saved a life.
The morning session was for young people. In the afternoon, the focus turned to the recruitment opportunities available to adults. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, who will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Jerry Smith. Talks between Britain's two main parties to find a compromise that would break the deadlock over Brexit have ended without an agreement. The main opposition Labour Party pulled out after 6 weeks of negotiations. Taiwan's parliament has become the first in Asia to pass a law that legalises same-sex marriage. The move complies with a ruling by Taiwan's top court in 2017 that not allowing same-sex marriage violated the constitution. The United Nations has expressed serious concern at evidence of sexual abuse against children in detention in the United Kingdom. According to the UK's own independent inquiry, more than 1,000 children were sexually abused in custody between 2009 and 2017. The UN said few of these cases seem to have been investigated. A German museum has announced it's returning to Namibia a stone cross that was erected on its coastline by Portuguese explorers in the 15th century. The important navigational landmark was taken to Berlin in 1894. Al-Shabaab militants in Somalia have begun making their own explosives, according to documents seen by the Reuters news agency. A confidential UN report links the development of homemade explosives by the Islamist extremists to an increase in bombings in the Somali capital Mogadishu. Pope Francis has accepted the resignation of the Brazilian bishop Wilson Dias de Oliveira. The Vatican has been investigating allegations of sexual abuse and fraud in 3 dioceses. One of them is Limeira, the seat of the bishop. One of the most famous denizens of the internet, Grumpy Cat, a feline known for her cantankerous skull, has died. She was 7 years old. The American sourpuss gained instant popularity when an image of her looking disgruntled emerged online. BBC News.
Access. Information. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Are you seeking information on the proper process to start constructing your home or development? Do you know how to apply for a building permit and inspection? Are you up to date with current building codes? May is Building Safety Month, and the Department of Planning has a number of events to help you stay up to date with the building and planning process. To learn more about Building Safety Month and the training, information sessions, and demos offered for free to the public, visit planning.ky.
Hi, I'm Dawn McLean Brady, President of the Cayman Islands Small Business Association, better known as CISPA. Small businesses drive Cayman's economy. As small business owners, we depend on government to create an environment where we, as entrepreneurs, can do what we do best, and that's to provide products and services that are valuable to our customers and, in turn, employ others. The cruise piers and cargo ports provide these opportunities. Encourage our government to build a port and let the Caymanian entrepreneurial spirit shine. Support the port, support our tourism.
Good morning, Cayman. Let's take a look at your latest weather. Present temperature 82 degrees Fahrenheit, relative humidity 78%. Winds are out of the east-southeast at 9 knots. Barometric pressure is at 29.91 and holding. Synopsis for this morning: light to moderate southeasterly winds and seas will continue across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours due to a weak pressure gradient over the northwest Caribbean. Forecast for today: partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of morning showers. Temperatures will rise to the upper 80s. Winds will be east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Later on this evening, partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of late night showers. Temperatures will fall to the mid to upper 70s. Winds will be east to southeast 5 to 10 knots. Seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. We're now in a high tide at this moment. High tide is at 8:08 a.m. It's going to be low at 2:44 p.m. this afternoon and high again at 9:23 tonight. Sunset this evening is at 6:52. Sunrise for tomorrow at 5:50. The outlook is for similar weather conditions through Sunday morning. That's your latest weather. This is Cayman Up Close, a weekly special feature from Radio Cayman News.
I'm Shanda Gallego.
Shanda Gallego goes behind the scenes with Cayman's newsmakers, artists, and emerging talent to get their unique and personal experience, their real story.
This week, we turn the spotlight.
Sundays at noon, 6:10 p.m. and 10:10 p.m. and always online at radiocayman.gov.ky. Tune in for Cayman Up Close.
This weekend, the Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
Taking a look at traffic conditions, of course, in the eastern areas, if you're coming into Georgetown, looking along the Linford-Pearson Highway, traffic is a little bit backed up, but it is moving at a good pace, so you shouldn't be too late for work this morning time. Of course, along Crew Road, a little bit of traffic out there as well, but it is moving good. Halda Avenue, very much busy, with traffic heading in the northern direction, turning on to Elgin Avenue and other streets. You should experience some free flow of traffic. Coming out of the northern area of West Bay into Georgetown, Esley Tibbetts Highway is looking quite good. And of course, getting along North Sound Road onto Godfrey Nixon Way, Eastern Avenue, and other streets. If you're getting into work, it's looking quite good. Not much traffic today, which is kind of not too bad. Buckle up and stay safe. Enjoy the ride. For the Record is coming up very shortly.
Sounds of Expressions, a Toastmasters event on May 29th at 6 p.m. at the Georgetown Town Hall.
An evening of intimate poetry and live music displayed by our Toastmasters and local musicians.
Admission only $10. All proceeds go towards our youth leadership program.
Come on down and support our youth as it promises to be a night of captivating entertainment. Sounds of Expressions. Tickets available at Sings Roti Shop, a Toastmasters fundraising event proudly sponsored by Radio Cayman,
Star 92.7, Audio Wave,
The Performance Lab,
Funfect, Acorn Publishing, and Sings Roti Shop.
Have you just completed a weekend cleanup project? Do you plan to dispose of old appliances, electronics, or even hazardous waste? Dispose of these items at the 24-hour drop-off site located at the entrance of the Georgetown landfill. This site is open to the public daily for your convenience. Do your part. Keep Cayman clean. For more tips on proper waste handling, visit the DEH website at www.deh.gov.ky.
For the Record with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. My pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning, MLAs, Mr. Christopher Saunders, Mr. Arden McLean, and Mr. Alva Suku. In the first half hour, we were discussing the private members' motion that was tabled, debated as well,
and passed unanimously
in the Legislative Assembly in relation to...
That's the first time, OC, if I may, in my 18 years that I got unanimous approval, vote on two motions. Remember the one on the court case?
Yes.
That was during the same session.
Okay.
That's why I said to them that I was prepared to pinch myself to see if it was real of me, because that's the first time that has ever happened. But that just shows how the government reception to those things, and it was Mose, the deputy premier, who amended it, and brought it up to 500,000 and extended it to all agencies within government needs to pay closer attention to it.
Yeah, yesterday I was talking to someone who's in the know and knows all MLAs and ministers individually, and that person said if there's anyone who listens, catches, you can catch their ear, and if you have something that makes sense, something that he can work with, that he will certainly take it on board, and it is the Deputy Premier and Minister Kirkconnell. They had high praise for him.
It is not often that politicians praise the other side and that kind of stuff. That's not often. I mean, let's be straight up. What Mose does, he calls you back. What Mose does, he listens to your proposals. Right now, we're right in the middle at the Record of 10 sale, something I've wanted to do for a very long time. We're right now building a little information craft outlet and bathroom there. That was Mose who did that. That was Mose who found the money for us to do that.
Okay, 2 callers. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, Mr. O'Connor.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Okay, and good morning to Mr. McLean, Mr. Suku, and Mr. Saunders.
Morning.
Yes, I have 2 questions and then a comment, and then you all can answer.
Go right ahead.
Yes, concerning the Georgetown dump, I would like to get an update on that, but you don't have to answer until I'm finished. Because as long as we're putting more garbage into the Georgetown dump than what we're taking out on a daily basis, I don't see that dump going anywhere. And what is the update concerning plans that they had made to start a new facility in Bordentown? And my comment is, I thought you all would be this morning asking the government, bringing to the floor of the House, asking the government to start collecting concessions that we're able to put towards a trade school fund for our young people and towards a pension fund for our Caymanians when they get old. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. Let's take the other caller and then we can respond. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Sonner. Good morning, Mr. Saunders and Mr. McLean.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Yeah, I just have a quick thing here to mention. I am a Master of Communications Control for the Tournament Control, and so far we have 16 boats participating in the Bright Jackpot fishing tournament, which will be for 3 days, started at 7 this morning through Sunday evening. And 62 persons are involved with the 16 boats. So far, Gary Bodden's boat landed a 20-pound wahoo so far. So I'm right here by the radio, just taking the time out to let the public know that things are going good. And this is one of the highest number of boats that we had in years around Cayman Brack in the Brack Jackpot tournament.
Okay, thank you very much for that information, and we wish those people in the Brack success in that tournament.
Tight line.
Okay.
Congrats to Jerry, too.
The first callers.
I can just touch on the concession, and one of the things that we recognize is that a lot of the issues that we do address in Delhi, and I mean, Alva and I, we recognize that in the last two Fridays that we were here, is that for whatever reason, it's not something that's been made public. Now, with regards to the whole concessions issue, I can say to you that this is something that we dealt with extensively at the PSC. The Auditor General has issued a report on it, and pretty much one of the things that we wanted on the concession was clear guidelines in when concessions would be granted. Because this is one of the things that have been a little bit too ad hoc, and I mean, one of the more popular cases, even the Mike Ryan case, where he had monies outstanding, and then we heard again that he had other concessions that he received. No, this is something that is purely at this point a cabinet discretion. And one of the things that we wanted was clear guidelines in terms of when these concessions would be used. One of the things, if you go back and look, and most people will be surprised, and I only found this out recently, is that we even had a hotel concessions law from 1970 something that actually listed, when concessions and everything.
Hotels aids.
That was the word. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Sorry, thanks for that. Hotel aids law, that back from the 1970s, that it was clear that that law has never been repealed, but at the same time, it has never really been enforced or really used, because we have been seeing a lot of ad hoc type concessions being given. So what we're looking for is a clear guidelines in terms of when it can be used. And on top of that, why it's also a big issue for us too, is with the absence of standards in public life. Again, this is something that governs how public officials behave. We believe more now than ever it's important that we have clear guidelines as to when something could be used. This is not to suggest that there's something being done that's untoward. No, let me make that clear. But at the same time, any transaction or anything that we do must always be seen as above board, and no one should be in any position to question anything. So this is something that's been dealt with. It is something that we continue to deal with. And from there, no, in terms of the dump, I will turn that over to Mr. McLean.
Before we go on to the dump, I just want to say that this whole issue of concessions, we see it cropping up in Turks and Caicos. We see it cropping up in Barbados, as well in terms of demands for concessions, and then successive governments coming along and saying, this isn't, what should be in place. So we see a huge rift with Sandals
I could be honest
in Turks and Caicos,
and when it comes on to Caymanian business, I have no problem with Caymanian business getting concessions. At the end of the day, we're still a young country. We're still in some areas where we already are. We want development. Like going back to the motion that we just were speaking about earlier, that in itself is a concession. But we are trying to encourage business to go to a particular part. And one of the things behind concessions and like even generally even taxation is that there's some element of where you want to incentivize people to do certain behaviors. No, 7 Mile Beach is something that's fully developed. It sells itself. To be running concessions on 7 Mile Beach, no. You have to really wonder. Now, if you want someone to go and do something further out in the country where there's no infrastructure in between and they're going to be doing other stuff, then by all means, yes, you can do that kind of stuff. But this is why we want clearer guidelines and making sure that everything is done as it's above board. There's just too much. We have too many questions on it.
Okay, and I think that's what you have to do is you have to target those areas that you want to develop, and then aim the concessions at those.
Yes.
Don't just make it a general thing where anybody can come along and say, I want concession. But, you have to be strategic. You have to look at the areas you want to develop. So, not just tourism, but agriculture. I believe that we're getting to the point now that, with all the threats to our financial services and so on, we need to diversify. And we need to start looking at all the industries. The tech industry. I think we're primed for that. Especially given where we're located and the infrastructure that we have in place, but also manufacturing. If we can get to a point where we are manufacturing and producing for ourselves, that would be a huge boost to our GDP. But it would also give us a little more certainty, and we wouldn't be so much at the mercy of global market conditions, where we can produce things here for feed our own people.
Well, one of the things, just to expand on what Alvo just saying a while ago, like you take something like agriculture. Food itself is, in essence, a security issue. For any country. And not only would we would like to see concessions, we would also like to see subsidies in terms of food. Now, Alva touched a while ago on the tech industry, which again is a big opportunity for us in terms of where we're located and everything else. But at the same time, we can't have the current existing players that we have not having broadband, charging what they're charging, the service being poor, and you have a regulator who basically ain't doing their job either. So these are the kind of stuff that, in essence, are stifling development. And when we go at off-reg, last session of the earlier, I think it was clear where We had one vote where they came in there looking $2 million that they really couldn't tell us what that money was for. It basically went 7 votes for, 7 against, and it really took the chairman to break the tie. You know what I mean? But you can see even the frustrations coming from the side now for us in the eastern districts and not having high-speed internet. I mean, at the level in which we're looking, like fiber and that kind of stuff. In this day and age, I mean, how can you realistically now expect to go and try to sell something when the infrastructure isn't there? And this is what we talk about in terms of getting the infrastructure in between.
Georgetown landfill and the proposed processing facility in Bordentown.
That one is easy if the caller is listening. What needs to happen is that John, Minister Seymour, needs to give the country an update. You remember when I was doing it, I gave the country an update. We really don't know anything of what is going on. It doesn't work like that. What the government is the one who proposes the projects, and the opposition looks at those projects when they come along, when that proposal comes along, and see whether or not it's beneficial to the country. And if it is, we support it. If it's not, we will debate it and oppose it. And that's what politics is. Let me just touch on a couple of things these two young people touched on. I support everything they say, and just to add on to it, anywhere in the world, concessions is used as a tool by the government, by those in charge, by the authorities, to attract development and for the specific reason to stimulate the economy. Let's look at California. America has 48 states on mainland or
continental,
something. Yeah. And each of them have their own local governments elected. And what they do is, this is a balancing act. We need to, you look at where your people are, where your economy is, how you can stimulate that economy so that your people can get jobs and benefit from your economy, increase your GDP and what have you. So what we do is we offer people the tech and things that these were just talking about. We offer people incentives to come in through concessions and hope that the benefits from those developments outweigh that with those waivers that you have given them to come in. Through our GDP and, the economy and all of people getting jobs and the likes, and that hopefully will outweigh it. And then we will have something that will forever contribute to the coffers of the country. Now, where we find that perfect balance is where maybe sometimes we go out of skelter with it, out of whack with it. Those are the areas, Mr. Scott, the possibility. We have to watch how we do that, because the public interest law and that kind of stuff, whether there's corruption and that kind of stuff. There needs to be transparency in it. Now, when we talk about concessions for the eastern districts, in this case particular, what we're doing there is trying to develop our people and give them the opportunity to get involved in the economy of the country. That's a little different now, because we now have given concessions for tourism. So now this is an extension to ensure Caymanians get benefits from those concessions, the same concessions that we gave out to get people to come and build hotels and to do this and to do that. Now we want to make sure the objective of any government, any politician, is to enhance the lives of its people, of their people. So here we are now trying to extend that concession to our people so they can share in the benefits that we hope outweighed the other waivers, the other concessions, and that's where we're at.
Otherwise, it's short term for the people if they have to rely only on employment based on those concessions that you have in the
absolutely, because
a very small piece of that
the
pie.
stock market is construction, and that is 18 months and it's over.
Right. We have to go to a commercial break, and we have one caller on hold. We're going to take the commercial break. Caller, hang in there. Quick commercial break. When we return, we will take your call.
They say cleaning your house never killed anyone, but why take chances? Spend your time doing what you love and leave the rest to Roper's Janitorial. Complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential with 24-hour emergency service. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Take back your life and get the job done right the first time. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511.
It is amazing to see my daughter grow up and make a difference in the world, but it is also completely terrifying to worry about her when she goes out with her friends. It is my job as a father to make sure she makes smart decisions and is safe as a young woman. So, when my daughter needs quality care, I take her to CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of the careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
Business owners, managers, and marketers interested in learning how digital and social media marketing can help grow your business? Join Yellow Media Group Monday, May 27th at Yellow Digicon and unleash your company's digital potential. Learn from international digital marketing and social media experts, including speakers from Google and Matchcraft, plus a Fortune 500 digital marketing strategist. Complimentary registration for Yellow Media Group customers. Register now at digiconcayman.com or findyellow.com. Presented by Yellow Media Group in partnership with Google. Why my wife always asking if I'm in a rush when she's the one always making us late?
Might as well say, yeah, I'm in a rush and go buy the new Toyota Rush you've been talking about, because they on sale this month. Dial teacher.
The super special spring SUV sale at Vant Motors. Save up to $4,400 with SUVs starting at only $23,500, like the 7-seater Toyota Rush. Save money, get cash back, or use the discount to upgrade features on the SUV of your choice, including the Toyota RAV4, the Fortuner, the Rush, or the Ford EcoSport. It's our super special spring SUV sale. Only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Ort Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're going straight to the phone lines as promised. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Doc. How are you?
Morning. Good morning For the Record. Good morning to your guests.
Morning, sir.
I have a few comments that I'd like to make, if I have some time.
Sure. Go right ahead, Doc.
Okay. Firstly, it's my observation that the two pillars of the industry that support Cayman's economic system, the financial industry and the tourist industry, were not made for the local people to participate and to enjoy it. We spent from Mr. Warren Conley days to Bertram to all of the other people. We spent all of this money in the tourist department, even up to Jim Borden and all of those people. Spent all kinds of money in the tourist industry and advertisement and all that sort of stuff to fill the 7 Mile Beach hotel rooms. We have not spent any money on the local people to benefit from that. The local people were only supposed to be benefit from working there. The same thing with the financial industry. We spend all this kind of money getting people off the blacklist and all this stuff and things like that and whatnot. And I don't think that all of those law firms and all those trust companies put any money, give any money to the government to go out to fight the battle for them. That's another thing. And the only thing that they were interested in, and we got a few jobs that they trickle down to us. It's the same thing now. Concessions are a thing of the past. That's an old concept. The thing now is PPP, public-private partnership. Those are the things now that will allow people and allow the governments in these developing countries to participate into the benefits of the investments in the countries. One of the things that I see, we have one of the most prime piece of property on the 7 Mile Beach. It's where the governor lives. Mm-hmm. In the old days, that was fine because we didn't have any means to develop any other place for the governor to live, and that was the easiest place to live. We still allow them to sit on that piece of prime property to have a house. That property belongs to the Caymanian people. We should be entering into public-private partnership with some hotel chain to build a hotel there that our people can get the benefits of it and can get jobs and can get training and stuff like that and move the governor someplace else out from off the beach in some other land where he can have a house and a comfortable gardens and so forth. We don't actually think that is what, when I was working with the government in those years when I was in the McKeever Bush administration, I was approached by one of the people that were interacting with us about coming into loaning the government some money, $500 million, and I because I had a conversation with them about financing the Cayman Development Bank, so that the local people could get financing to do bread and breakfast things. Eastern people could get money to develop their inland bread and breakfast things and ecology things and stuff and things like that. And I was told by certain people, and by the way, the interest then was 1.5%. I was told, no, we couldn't do that because the British government wouldn't allow us to borrow that money. And I says to them, well, why don't we go into a PPP with them, a public-private partnership with them, and let them put the money into the bank, and we have a public partnership with them so that people could get the money and develop their country. We don't even really think about things like that. All we do is think about what other people are going to say about us. We need to start modernizing our stuff and giving our people a benefit. There is, when you go to Negril and all of those places, and when you go to Barbados and you go to St. Lawrence Gap and Oistins and stuff, you see all the tourists in those little rooms and people's houses with their chairs out front, with their chairs out front. And when at nighttime, those little towns come alive where people make money. We don't do the thing here because we do not even think any more than getting a job and so forth. Politicians and if you I don't know where you are now. I don't know where you are because I don't think you were a government in waiting. But if you intend to be a government in waiting, you need to go out and to speak to people so that when your chance comes and you sit in the driver's seat, that you will be able to have the kind of connections and financing that you're gonna need to people. That's what I'm talking about. So the next thing I would like to speak about is where is the leadership of the independents now? You have no deputy because the deputy resigned, and you have no leader because the leader resigned. So what is the position now with the independents?
Okay, Doc, I think we have all of your questions and your comments. Gentlemen, opportunity to respond.
Let me take the first one that he talked about, PPPs, and the opportunity for Caymanians to do what, to benefit. Over the years, I have worked very hard to try and convince colleagues of mine in politics that what we need to do is to ensure we bring Caymanians along. we have in this country over the years, like Steve said, believe that if we see buildings going up and the financial aspect of this country, people get places to house their business, that we have reached. Well, we haven't reached. There are so many other issues surrounding Caymanians who do not or they do not have access to the financing to get involved in these businesses. Those who do are very successful. Those who do are very successful. I do not believe in this lease thing that leasehold that government does.
Mm-hmm.
I never did. I don't subscribe to it. I believe
I've never seen any instance where the
we get
lands
anything out
are
of it.
reverted back to the
Never.
To the people of the Cayman Islands.
Never.
Always stay in the hands. We may extend at least for another 99 years, which is
It's a couple
past
million
all of
dollars.
our lifetime. Never
Right.
reverts back to the people.
I've never supported that. I never will. I believe that if there is a developer who sees the potential in that piece of property that government has, then that's fine. My government, the lands that government owns, and you want to do it, then that the value of my land is 20% into whatever is developed there. Now, people are going to call that socialist and don't want to get involved with government. Well, so be it. Government can use it for something else. But we need to have 20% in it in perpetuity. The only thing that continues in perpetuity is a country. All else ends. Once life ends, the development has a lifespan on it. The country has no lifespan on it. It is in perpetuity. Long after we're gone, it's going to be here, and we're going to have to serve the people who come past behind us. And that is how I believe that should be. I further believe, and I further support, educating Caymanians on the fact that there is no longer a need to sell your property. You don't need to sell your property. If someone is coming to buy your property to do a subdivision or do condos, then the value of that property you should get in apartments or lots within that subdivision. And there is nothing wrong with that. The developer was going to have to pay that money anyhow to you. Yeah. And you get the apartments, and then that is in perpetuity for your family.
And you earn an income on it?
You earn an income. Yeah. When you get in a situation where you need a few $1,000s, you may go and sell one of those apartments. So they're going to build 100 apartments, and your value of your property is 30 apartments. That's 30 apartments that you get an income from. There is nothing wrong with that. You just, they do a strata on it, and you own 30 apartments. And that is the value of your property. There's no longer a need to sell it. Because we are no longer in a situation where we were in the 60s, where we were trying to attract people to come here to develop our country.
Okay, the caller's position in relation to the current location of Government House and his idea that there should be a partnership with government and a private entity to build a hotel there. Has private government's partnership with the private industry with the private sector when it comes to hotels, has that been successful? I don't think that it has been that successful. We saw an instance in the British Virgin Islands where Prospect, I think it was called Prospect something, a hotel there, they were involved with that. They eventually bought it to develop it into a hotel to be run by government. Hasn't been done. Bermuda had the same thing where they had a training school and a hotel there. Eventually it failed as well. The record for governments going into partnerships with the private sector and running hotels, not successful. The other point in relation to the land where the government house is located, it probably, I'm not sure whether or not that was a part of the Greenall or part of what Crown land that was owned, because remember now, even to the south of
that was a part of
the west end, those condos there, they were all leasehold properties, from government as well.
See, government owned from Holiday Inn, straight down to the governor's house, and the beach there.
Yes.
Government owned all that, straight from sea to sea. And that was all part of the Greenall stuff. That piece was carved off. Yeah. Where those Galleon Beach condos are, that was government too, All that was government. Yeah. On the issue of the governor's house, I have always said that governor's house is of such value to this country that we need to be very careful.
We need to keep it.
My proposal is, between the governor's residence now, the north end of the building, and the wall to the public beach that we have carved off for the public beach for access for the public, there is sufficient space for us to build a house as a residence for the governor and leave our government house for all else, such as visiting people.
Is there a need for the governor to be on the beach?
Maybe not. So let's move him.
Yeah.
But that government house must, every time you get an invitation to a reception at the governor's house, the governor and his wife invite you because they're having a function that the premier is hosting. That's unfair. That's unfair to any governor and their family for the intrusion of people all the time. Why can't we have our own government house, not governor's house now, government house,
for
where the premier invites officials, they stay there, we maintain it properly. We do it all over the world. Bill, let's go and spend $10 million, I don't know, like Steve said, someplace else where they can have gardens and the governor can be.
Or get the Dartdon Corporation to donate one. Let's take a commercial break, and we have one caller on hold. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
My dad is the best. He was always there to protect me and guide me to be a better person. He helped shape me into the woman that I am today. But I was never prepared for the day that I had to protect and take care of him. It was terrifying and a total role reversal. But I will always be there for him like he was for me. When it comes to his medical care, I go where he always did, West Bay Pharmacy.
We know the difficulty of caring for elder family members. At West Bay Pharmacy, we can help assist you with caring for your loved ones by providing quality medicine and some of the most efficient home healthcare items possible. We provide precise calculations with your prescriptions to ensure your medical safety. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health.
It may be our anniversary at Tony's Toys Automotive Center, but you will be the one celebrating when you take advantage of our fantastic tire special. For a limited time only, buy 1 tire, get 5% off. 2 tires, 10% off. 3 tires, 15% off. 4 tires, get 20% off. Choose from over 2,000 tires in stock and a variety of brands for any make or model vehicle. Drive in today and save on brand new tires at Tony's Toys. Call 623-TIRE. That's 623-8473. Or visit tonystoys.net.
That is the true position at Tony's Toys.
They say cleaning your house never killed anyone, but why take chances? Spend your time doing what you love and leave the rest to Roper's Janitorial. Complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential with 24-hour emergency service. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Take back your life and get the job done right the first time. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511.
How would you like to drive off in a brand new 2019 all-white Mercedes-Benz CLA 250? On Saturday, June 1st at Mango Tree, you could be that lucky person. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman presents its annual charity fundraising event, Benzorama 2019. That's right, one lucky winner will be announced at the Mango Tree on Saturday, June 1st, and that lucky winner could be you.
If you don't have a ticket, you don't have a chance.
Tickets are $25 each, or 5 tickets for only $100. Proceeds from the funds raised go towards various Lions community projects. Tickets can be purchased online at eventpro.ky, or stop by one of our ticket outlets, including Radio Cayman Studios, Funky Tangs, South Coast Bar, Reflections Food for Less, and West Bay Road SO, or can be purchased from any of our active Lions community members. Benzorama 2019. We are all winners once you support the Lions and our community.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after,
Brit K protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after,
visit BritK.ky or call 949-8699.
BritK, where people come first.
For the record, with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're going to the phone lines, but before I go there, very quickly, I want to say a big happy birthday to Mr. James D. Martin. If you don't know who that is, you probably know him as JD. JD Martin. Today is his birthday. Happy birthday coming from his wife, Junie, and all of his friends, including his friend in New York, Mr. Clarence Forbes, who reminded me on Wednesday that today was JD's birthday as well. So, JD, enjoy yourself. I'm glad that you're back in good health as well, and have a splendid day today. Let's go to the phone lines.
Before we resume talking about business, I also wanted to send congratulations to one of my constituents.
Sure.
Lewin Solomon, who was invited to the Invitational Youth Games in Toronto. Actually medaled, got gold in a long jump, and his team got the gold in the 4x100 relay.
Oh, so congratulations, congrats.
Really proud of him. He also represented us recently at the Special Olympics and got a bronze medal. So the young man is doing very well.
Congrats to Mr. Lewin Solomon.
Well, see if we could do that. We need to also extend congratulations to your good friend, Teresa Pitcairn.
Oh, yes. Her son
is head boy at Trinity College.
Trinity College, yes.
That is an achievement unbelievable.
Yes, congrats to that.
Coming from...
I know Miss Teresa's extremely proud.
I extended my congratulations through Teresa to him as well.
Okay, well, let's go to the phone lines. Caller, congratulations, you're on the air.
Congratulations, me.
You finally got there, right?
Yeah, I finally got there. Anyway, well, congratulations to all the people that you just talked about. And I just want to say good morning to UOC.
Good morning.
Saunders and Mr. Tsuku.
Morning.
And Hard McLean.
Morning.
Yeah, we were talking about it up a while ago, but before I mentioned that, talk about that, I came by the public beach. I drove by there last night. And I see them pulling up, look like they're making a circus or something down there on that, where it used to be the parking lot for all the cars and stuff that went in there. And they got this whole place that was occupied with equipment and stuff, and the lights, the big lights, and looked like they got a merry-go-round or something in there or something. I don't read anything about that. I don't know what's happening there.
Well, if I may tell you what is happening there is, you remember when the NRA 2 agreement was done, the part of it was that DART would develop the public beach. And this is part of that. They're doing, this is the final stages of that. They're doing stalls for businesses and the likes, that all that controversy that has been surrounding that. So that's what they're doing there now. So a little inconvenience for a little while. I think I hope it will be worth it.
Caller?
Okay, well, I didn't know, but I was surprised when I saw all the lights and stuff going on, but it looks it seemed to me they were building a merry-go-round when I saw one thing there, but maybe that was just my conception. Anyway, the thing you're talking about, the dump and stuff like that, and Mr. Arden, you remember some years ago, I guess it was when you first got in, that you were in charge of the dump. And I had come to see you, and we talked about, some of the things that were going on, and I think it was when they were removing all the old cars and all that stuff that was going out there. But anyway, a friend of mine, Mr. Tate Smith, and I had come to see you up in your office. I remember sitting in front of you talking about it. Mm-hmm. But you had already made some kind of a deal with the guy from David Moffett. I think it was that was supposed to be taking all the stuff out. But I sometimes think about it, if you hadn't had made that decision already, what might have been, because Mr. Tate Smith, remember we had offered you all the equipment and stuff for recycling and everything. Because that's his business, and he would have brought that in, and then he would have got the proceeds from the selling of the material. I think it was 15 or 20 years, something like that. Then after that, you guys, government would have the equipment on their own. They would do what he would do. And sometimes I think about what might have happened back there. I think it was in 1988 or so. And God help us that we can. I understand that God is now looking at it, and if He can do something like that, maybe we'll get rid of it. But like somebody called in earlier talking about it, the thing just gets bigger, and the longer it's there like that, the more difficult it's going to be to do things with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, two things. I have no knowledge of David Moffett, and it wasn't David Moffett. It was the Boddens here that had went in agreement with some people up in the States that won the bid.
I think it was the Moffett people. Yeah, that's right.
No, it wasn't Moffett. Bodden. Some of the Bodden family was in agreement with, had formed a partnership with some people in the States. And that's when the press was saying that I was involved in it. You remember that? But it really wasn't. The other thing is that I have said this publicly before. I've said it privately. One of my greatest political regrets will be that I didn't get that completed. That I didn't get through with what I was planning on doing. And I had reached an advanced stage of correcting that issue. And then DART started doing a proposal after I left with the same consultants that I had. So obviously I was doing something right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes, and now they're back at it again. And I don't know where it's at. I don't know what kind of methods they're talking about. I believe government had, by and large, taken up this government and the previous government had taken up the same methods that I had proposed, which was mass burn. I don't know if they're looking at alternative methods of getting rid of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, caller, one of our listeners has pointed out, sent me a WhatsApp and said that that Cayman Carnival is taking place this weekend at the public beach. So that's what you're seeing there.
Yep.
Okay.
That's actually what I was going to say.
Okay, because I thought I saw something look like a merry-go-round or something up there. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, caller, for that.
Have a good day, gentlemen.
Okay, very quickly, we have about 2 minutes before we go to the break, and very quickly, I want to share something with you all and our listening audience as well. The United Nations has published a document. There's an organization called ESCAP. I'm not sure what the acronym stands for, but I'll try to find that. Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. And it's a primer to public-private partnerships in infrastructure development. And the main pros and cons of the concessions model include the following. The pros: private sector bears a significant share of the risk, high level of private investment, potential for efficiency gains in all phases of project development and implementation and technological improvement. Innovation is high. The cons of concessions in a private partnership, public-private partnership, highly complex to implement and administer, may have underlying fiscal costs to the government, negotiation between parties, and finally making a project deal may require a long period of time, may require close regulatory oversight. One of the things that Mr. Saunders spoke about, contingent liabilities to the government in the medium and long term, that there may be contingent liabilities to the government in the medium and long term as well. With that, we're going to go to
And OC, you were right about they're not working in the Caribbean. And just quickly, you remember St. Kitts. The gambling was introduced into the Caribbean through St. Kitts with Jack Tar Hotel. Mm-hmm. You remember that? And that nearly broke the government of St. Kitts to the point where they had to get out of it, demolish the building, and then extend it and give the developers of the hotel on Westway Road.
Westin?
No, the other one.
Hyatt?
Marriott right across the road on government property, and that's where the casino is in St. Kitts.
Okay, headline news, 9 o'clock. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly. Okay.
That's how it...
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Headline. Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
The Department of Agriculture says several of the dogs seized last week in an operation in Prospect have contracted parvovirus. The first case was confirmed last Thursday, and immediate measures were put in place to address the disease. Regrettably, 3 of the dogs have succumbed so far. The remaining dogs remained under the care of DOA veterinarians as well as several private vets. Talks between Labour and the UK government aimed at breaking the Brexit impasse have ended without an agreement. Jeremy Corbyn said the discussions had, quote, gone as far as they can, blaming what he called the government's increasing weakness and instability. Prime Minister Theresa May said the lack of, quote, common position within Labour over a further referendum had made talks, quote, difficult. Taiwan's parliament has become the first in Asia to legalize same-sex marriage following a vote on Friday. In 2017, the island's constitutional court ruled that same-sex couples had the right to legally marry. Lawmakers debated 3 different bills to legalize same-sex unions, and the government's bill, the most progressive of the 3, was passed. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Ray, are we ready for another CYSA?
Well, I hope so. Next topic is going to be phosphate mining and the railroad.
We had a railroad?
Well, we had a railway anyway. It was for the guano mining. Do you know what guano is?
Nope.
It's nice for bird poo-poo.
Bird poo-poo. This Friday, CYSA
is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
May the 17th, this Friday, CYSA.
Brought to you by Cayman National Bank, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
For the record, with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio, we have MLAs Mr. Christopher Saunders, Mr. Arden McLean, and Mr. Alva Suku. We're discussing many topics this morning. I would like to talk about the special report, but before I do that, I want to give you all an opportunity to touch on other topics that you.
Yeah.
You
One of the
talk
things
about.
I just want to, before we close up on this whole concession issue, and this has been my fundamental challenge with, I guess to some extent, Cayman being to some extent very Americanized. Each country go through their development at different stages and at different ages. If you go back and look at the United States, the old railroad system was actually built either by government, well, basically PPPs. That's one of the first in the Americas region, at least that I'm aware of. Where they build the train tracks and basically the different railway services connecting different parts of the country, pretty much from east to west and the whole 9 yards. I say all of that to say, we didn't have, when you look at that whole infrastructure development in terms of railways and airports and all that kind of stuff, we didn't have that. A lot of stuff we had to do on our own. Due to, in a sense, the availability of capital and everything else and having access to capital. We see the same thing also with regards to even our own airport. I think that was built on funds that was loaned from the Jamaican government, I believe. And the roads, we made do with what we had to do until, I guess, others came along. Perfect example of that would even be our utility company. In terms of we did what we could do. Same as at the government bank before I was around. We did what we could do until, in a sense, we could have access to more. It's very easy for people to get up and just basically say, well, this is what you want to do, this or this is what you want to do. When in fact, we do not have, in many cases, the underlying access to capital or the capital markets that many people have. And in some extent, we don't have the laws, we don't have the regulations, and we don't even have the basic things surrounding those issues. Perfect example, Mr. McLean referred earlier about the waste management facility being one of his biggest regrets. But if he's going to be real honest with himself, his biggest regret was not being able to find at least, was it $100 million at the time? That's what it would have taken. You know what I mean? So to have gone out and just say, oh, I'm going to get $100 million. The public needs to recognize that for every single thing that the government does, the money comes from the private sector. No government around the world has yet to prove that taking $1 out of the economy and putting back in has been more efficient than leaving it there. What we have not done is properly incentivize people. I use a perfect example that I used to tease my friends in Jamaica. I look at Digicel. Digicel is an Irish company. It came in, and when Digicel came in, Cayman Wireless had, if memory serves me right, a waiting list of 500,000 customers that wanted phones. There was already a demand for this kind of service, and with all the business people Jamaica had, you mean to tell me it took someone from Ireland to roll in and basically build Digicel, start in Jamaica, and look at where Digicel is today, because opportunities were there. And this is where we as Caymanians need to come in. You look at our fuel companies, you look at so many things at this point that are not owned by Caymanians. And yet, if we're going to be honest, there are a lot of people who sat idly by and allowed this country to be owned by others. And now we have the difficult task, the gigantic task of trying now to get Caymanian ownership of a little piece of this pie, when in fact many people sat back and sold this country out. And I'm going to tell you why it is a problem for me, why I'm saying it. Two of my representatives that came out of Borden Town, Roy Borden and Gilbert McLean, spoke these things to people for years. Do not sell your land, lease it, don't do this, don't do that. Yet they were branded socialists and every name under the sun. And the very people who were branding them are the very people who turned around and got rich. Let me tell you something, O.C. We have had people in this country that have been divided and then duped, taken advantage of by people. I mean, even the very one local bank we have left, not even that we could keep. Even that we had to turn around and sell. What is left there to be Caymanian? Look at our law firms. How many of them who started out as being Caymanian law firms, the big firms, look at where they are today. We have sold every single thing out in this country. And then we sit down complaining to foreigners, or they buying up everything. Well, you know what? Because Caymanians have been selling them for years. And people have sat idly by and watch other people gotten rich and decide not to say anything. And now we have the task of going back out. And I'm going to tell you something, OC. I am 46 years of age. I've already been to death's door already, back in 2006. So when you sit down in your bed at night and you write your own obituary, because I really didn't think I was going to make it at the hospital, you start making certain promises. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to speak my truth. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And if you don't like it, the most they can do is don't talk to me, because the only thing I need to do in life is stay fat, black, and die. But I'm going to tell you right now, people in this country, our own people, have sold us out. And what is scary to me, and I can tell you one of the best things that ever happened to us, and we were discussing this just yesterday, the people now who are sitting down and demanding that more be done for Caymanians. In many cases, are the new Caymanians who are coming from countries, seeing what has happened in their country, that they don't want repeated here. Do you know how many times people have said to me, Christian, we did this back in my country, and boy, it didn't work. Please, I beg you, don't do it here. Here's what it is that you guys need to do. You're expanding too fast. You're growing too fast. People can get up and talk about population growth to 100,000, and some people just brush it off like it ain't nothing. 100,000 of who? Right now we're talking about, one of the issues that also underline us driving an incentive to with the homes in the Eastern District. Today you're talking about the housing situation. Right now, if people are now converting many of their one-bedroom apartments to Airbnb, it means then that this is now homes that are taken out of the local rental market. And right now, I can tell you, just the last couple of weeks, I've had people who were renting and have been served notice because the rent have gone up, and the people realize that they can get more money for that rent. Mm-hmm. And now these people are running around, have money, and can't find any place to rent. And this is a family of basically 6 people that was there, and rent just went up on them. Why? Because people are coming in that can afford to pay more, and they can't afford to pay. These are the kind of situations that we have, and when you're planning for a country, and this is the reason why we have been going around meeting with other people and having this discussion on this old plan came and the update of the development plan to see exactly where we're going, because you're talking about building a 50-story building. Do you know how many people it's going to take to operate and work in that building? Where are you going to put them? Where are the roads? Where's the infrastructure? Again, we make too many things out in the plans. But yet, at the same time, the people who we need to challenge and the people who we need to take on, we're afraid to take them on because, boy, you don't want to touch them people. And then you basically wait for Alva, Arden, and Chris to come on to the radio and just thing there. If people understand the meetings that we have been having with people, and a lot of them are very uncomfortable meeting. Just yesterday, we had a meet with someone, and I can tell you, we were very frank, we're very clear, and I can tell you, no one left that meeting wondering what we were thinking. But one thing was made clear: it is Caymanian first. And the days in which Caymanians are going to be second class in the citizen ain't going to work. We have already lost economic power in this country. We will not lose political power. The other week we had 1,400 PR on the front page of the newspaper. Nothing came out of that. Our people sat down and realized when you add on those dependents and then how many years plus what we already had sitting down there, what the effect on this country is going to be. When you have people that they just have an open immigration policy. Today in the paper, the most work permits we have ever had, and no one is even sitting down thinking about what is the long-term plan for this country. These are serious issues that we have. Mm-hmm. And what we have now is just a bunch of people running around and just talking about a good economy when Caymanians are left behind, still living paycheck to paycheck, cost of living is killing them, and business people are taking advantage of them. This is the kind of stuff that needs to stop.
Mm-hmm. But what people want to hear now is what are the answers to those pressing questions and problems.
I just want to expand on something Chris just said, which has been I've been wrestling with. This PR thing. In 2003, when McKeever's administration gave out 3,000 stars.
2,400 and something.
2,400. Now, we all went up in arms. Everybody in the country went up in arms. It's unfair to us and what have you and what not. Now, we last year issued 1,400 PRs. Let's be conservative and say they were all couples. Okay? Now, that does not include those by descent and marriage now. Let's be conservative. That's 700 couples. Let's be further conservative and say they only have one child. That's 700 children. Plus those 1,400 is 2,100 people that was injected into this community last year alone. Within 5 years, they're going to be Caymanians. We need to start asking the question whether or not that is what we want for this country. We need to plan. We need to determine whether or not we're going to stop this thing called Cayman status, because it's further going to marginalize those who have been complaining about that. But we are not seeing it from that perspective. This administration has given more PRs by far than anyone else has given. We need that discussion now. You know, the Premier said recently that we need to be bold about how we're going to do our development. Well, we need to be bold also about how we are going to plan the future of this country. Mm-hmm. And it's not bringing in 100,000 people, another 40,000 to 50,000 people to get up to that 100,000 population. We need to plan this. And that is a serious, serious matter.
Well, that will give us an opportunity to segue when we return from this commercial break into the Foreign Affairs Committee's recommendation on their special report, the report, 20th special report on global Britain and the British Overseas Territories, resetting the relationship, government's response, and the government's response to the committee's 15th report on that. So when we return, we will look at recommendation 9, and I will preview, we will set the stage for it. The UK government, this is the recommendation by the Foreign Affairs Committee, the UK government should initiate a consultation with the elected governments of the overseas territories and work with them to agree a plan to ensure that there is a pathway for all resident UK and British Overseas Territories citizens to be able to vote and to hold elected office in the territories. It is, in its response to this report, the FCO should lay out a timetable for this consultation process and set a dateline for phasing out discriminatory elements of belongership or its territory-specific equivalent. So we will dissect that, and we will hear that's what we're going to discuss now, the response, because you, Mr. McLean, has said that this is where we need to take a hold of this. We need to discuss it. We need to take ownership of it. So let's see what the UK has said in that regard. And I believe the UK has basically said it is in our hands. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Rotaract Blue, in support of the Cayman Special Needs Community, present the 11th Annual Open Arms Gala, The Great Gatsby. Saturday, May 25th at Ristorante Papagayo. Cocktails begin at 6 p.m. 3-course dinner, award ceremony, silent auction at 7 p.m. Attire is Gatsby chic. Your ticket is only $100 per person. Your table only $1,500. Tickets available online at eventpro.ky or email president.rotaractblue@gmail.com. The Open Arms Program promotes care, understanding, and non-discrimination for disabled persons. The Great Gatsby by Rotaract Blue. Inspiration to the next generation.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore. At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you.
This week at Kirk Home Center, get your green thumb going with 8-inch square planter pots starting at $9.49. And keep plants blooming with a half-gallon watering can for $4.69. And grass growing with an 8-pattern sprinkler for $9.99. Cook rice perfect every time with a 16-cup rice cooker from Black & Decker for $34.99. And save on 12-volt cordless drills from Bosch for $259.99.
Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
For the Record with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Folks, fasten your seatbelts because we're going to be, this is going to be a real ride here this morning when we talk about this Foreign Affairs Committee report. You heard me earlier give you the preview to it, which basically says that the UK government, the elected government of the UK, along with the elected government of the overseas territories, should work together to agree a plan to ensure that there is a pathway for all resident UK and British overseas territory citizens to be able to vote and hold elected office in the territory. It is in its response to this report, the FCO should lay out a timetable for this consultation process and set a dateline for phasing out discriminatory elements of belongership or its territory-specific equivalent. The UK government's response is the UK government understands the committee's concern and continues to impress upon overseas territory governments the importance of allowing people who have made their permanent home in the territories the ability to vote and engage fully in the community, but recognizes the desire of island communities to maintain their cohesion, hence the need for a reasonable qualifying period. We understand qualifying process. We understand the overseas territories' concerns, sensitivities, and historical background on this issue. Our vision of the overseas territories is as vibrant and flourishing communities with the widest possible opportunities for their people. We expect territorial governments to meet the same high standards as the UK government in maintaining the rule of law, respect for human rights and integrity in public life, delivering efficient public services, and building strong and successful communities. In the spirit of a relationship based upon partnership, we will continue to support and encourage consistent and open political engagement on belongership and its territory-specific equivalent, whilst respecting the fact that immigration decisions are primarily a matter for OT governments. And I will repeat that phrase, right? I will repeat that phrase, whilst respecting the fact that immigration decisions are primarily a matter for overseas territories governments. That is why I say that
the last line.
The UK has handed it over to us. It's there. The FCO does not plan at a future date to publish such a timetable. So they have laid it out there. So it is in, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen out there, it is in our hands to decide.
But OC, during my debate on that motion that nobody else would bring, that only Anthony had the know to bring. No, I can't say that.
Yeah.
We have a call on hold. Let's take the call before you get into your speech, Mr. McLean. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Oh, seeing you guys.
Haven't heard from you in a long time.
This live one, yeah.
Good morning. Somebody told me just yesterday, asked me if I knew the devil was living in Cameron-Brack. I said, no. The devil is wherever you go.
In hell.
They say no. They say no. There's a new one in Cameron-Brack. I said, really? And they genuinely had me stumped. And they dawned on me. I said, I won't go and move Cameron-Brack.
I'm between two places. Okay. Little came on too.
Oh, even better.
Very interesting conversation this morning. Going back to, I read something with a Premier system of Bermuda getting the same type constitution what Bermuda got. We've been repeatedly told by some of our leaders that England said there wouldn't be no more constitution like that for Sea territory. The last time United Nations came down there, they had a meeting at Mary Miller Hall, and I asked the simple question if that were true. They said, no, England's a part of United Nations, and if they gave Bermuda that, they can't stop from giving Cayman the same type. So that's my take on that. Partnership with Dr. Steve was talking about, that sounds good, but we had a private partnership years ago, on a smaller scales. When we had the 4% on the condos that would go for housing, if I kept that on, we wouldn't have a housing problem now. So that and the urine test. I had more meetings down here than my paid representatives for a long time. In other words, you have them all through the year, but you have it the year before election. And the urine test and talk about the independence of the Constitution, that was my topic. Because it's nothing wrong with talking about it. But our leaders that ain't afraid to talk about it. The last election, I made sure that would be on every candidate manifesto, talking about advancement or what the next step is and stuff like that. So this is a thing we need to talk about, educate ourselves. I don't know much about it. I can only bring it up. But we got Dr. Steve and them that knows all about that. We should have regular meetings and stuff and enlighten the people what we're going to, because I feel one of these days, it might not be in my lifetime, but we're going. And if we're afraid to talk about it, so that means you're not going to prepare for it.
That's right.
So it's not nothing wrong with talking about it and preparing and knowing the next steps and next steps and next steps. And I believe that United Nations will have fund that for us. But the last time they asked to come in here, our government wouldn't let them come in.
Yep.
So, okay, I can leave you all now because another shipping today. But I'm still down here. Yes, I go to back off to now. I got a chance to listen to you all up there during the meeting up there, remember?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but all something I can't get a chance to do when I'm Grand Cayman.
Okay.
So I enjoyed our stay till 11:31 night.
Well, I can just imagine what you and Mr. Hyde how on the up they carrying on bad up in Cayman Bracken.
OC, I wanted to touch on.
Thank you, Mr. Ivan. Thank you.
Okay, you all have a blessed day.
You too, take care. The whole concept of this public-private partnerships. He touched on it, and I know Dr. Steve touched on it. I think that those are useful, but they are useful for certain specific developments.
Like sewage.
I think that, things like education, things that are not really for profit, but when the government gets into a line of business that competes with the other players in the market who are dependent on government for services, you have a cabinet who's then responsible for that entity, that PPP, and its profitability. And when they're making decisions then that would affect those other players, they may inadvertently do something that could harm them because they have to look out for the best interest of this entity too. Exactly. So I think when you get into things like with hotels, government owning a hotel and competing with another line of hotels, and those hotels are dependent on government to keep them going as well, you get into a little conflict of interest there. And it's probably best to stay out of those. But there's a place for them. Yes. And I think things like education, as Chris said, the dock, things like that, things that everybody benefit from, then, perfect.
Okay, one more caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Well, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Morning.
Just fine, gentlemen.
Morning.
when I hear like Mr. Ivan talking about the and Mr. Steve talks about, we have our eyes closed to what the world is and the way that we should be viewed constitutionally. It's sad because up to this year, February, we had the opportunity to have the Decolonization Committee that wanted to hold a meeting in Cayman again, and they were refused permission to come again. So, and throughout all the British Caribbean overseas territories, and they're going to have it for the second year running in Grenada instead of being in the overseas territories. And I say this in all seriousness. Every one of the gentlemen in that room are aware that we were given the opportunity on many occasions. In 2003, actually, they were given an invitation to come, and then in 2005, it was cancelled at the last moment by the then sitting government. And how are we ever going to advance? People talk about both sides of their mouth. Oh, we need to get educated, we need to study, we need to look at this. And when you have the opportunity, you refuse to allow the other territories to gather, to allow other people to come and talk about it, and to open it up to the Caymanian people so they can understand what's going on and what's happening.
So, caller, you're saying that most recently they were rebuffed again?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Again. And so it's going to be in Grenada for the second year running, because none of the British, UK overseas territories, you see, they have it 1 year in the what they call the Atlantic Conference, and the following year they have it in the Pacific. Mr. Steve went to a Pacific some years ago.
Right.
And besides that, we are given 4 opportunities a year as an overseas territory to go to the UN, any individual, organization, or government to talk on this subject. And we denied them again this year. You've heard me and OC talk about this.
And we can make written representations, because that is what Dr. Steve McPhail did in the 70s.
No, he did it during the administration in 2001 to 2005 too.
No, yeah, but he did it early. I remember doing research at the World Bank offices in Washington, D.C., and going over some United Nations papers, and that is where I discovered that Dr. McPhail had made representations to the UN Decolonization Committee, because I found the paper.
No, I thought you were talking about the time government sent him.
Okay.
Yeah. That was 2004, maybe.
Sorry, caller, go right ahead.
Yeah, we sent people to from the private sector. I've been to New York, and they also went to Anguilla, which is the only time it's been held in a British overseas territory. And yet still, we're not represented. But the people from St. Helena and Gibraltar and Falkland Islands go every year to these meetings and state their case.
But Billy, you know.
Yes, sir.
I don't need to tell you, Billy. The human being are not willing allies of change. You know that, Billy. We all know that. What we have in this country is that we are relying back on our forefathers' commitment to the crown. We are afraid to test that water because we are afraid it will change. We will find that our population has gotten more educated, and until we make that bold step, someone makes that bold step and invite these people, because there's nothing wrong with inviting them. There's nothing wrong with having dialogue. But when you are afraid of what you surmise to be the inevitable, then you're afraid that it's on your watch. That's the human being. There aren't many human beings that are willing to change.
Caller, you still there?
Yes, sir. I listen patiently.
And aren't many human beings that are willing to face tough discussions. We think that that person is better than us. Well, no one is better than me. I'm no less than anyone, and I'm no better than anyone. I am capable of looking you in the eye and giving you my position on the matter. Now, if I don't convince you, then I didn't convince you. But I know one thing in my life: I have learned more from those who have a different opinion than me than those that agree with me.
So, caller, what do you think is the aversion to having the decolonization committee meet here in the Cayman Islands?
Mr. O.C., I heard our people put fear that anybody from the UN had horns in their head and spears, and they were going to eat you up alive, and they had the biggest mouth you ever seen. In the mid-90s, I started to find out for myself. I physically went to the United Nations building. I went to what they call the Decolonization Committee, which that isn't the proper name for it, but let's call that the acronym people know it by. I went into their offices. I met the staffers. I met all the people. For 2 or 3 years running when I'd go to New York for other purposes, for business purposes. And that's when I found out how things go and the whole history of it. And this goes back to Article 73E of the UN Charter, which deals with self-determination. And then coming up
non-self-governing territories.
Coming back into and also the protectorates and all that. I don't want to get into that because you're going to tell me so much detail. And in 1959, there was a committee of 7 nations, U.S., France, England, Canada, and 1 or 2 others. I can't remember the others right now. And they got together and said, look, things aren't going the way the UN Charter in 1944 envisaged it to go. Some of them are still being held down. They're not being treated right. And we need to define the possibilities that could be done to say that a nation or an island or a country, whatever it is, has achieved the self-determination. And various options were laid out. You had integration. Integration is when you became part of the French. Some of the French islands in the Caribbean, they vote in the French election.
Yeah, they called it assimilation.
England agreed to this, They voted for it. Then up to October of 1960 when the committee made a report. And then the other option is, yes, independence. And then the other option is free association. Again, which the Dutch and the French have also afforded their various territories.
But caller, if we can focus back on Cayman's inability or Cayman's refusal to engage the special committee other than submitting the reports that they're normally required to submit in relation to the UK's role.
Okay, yeah, I'll answer it, but let me finish what I want.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of time left. I'm past my commercial break.
I know I'm going to get rushed. And then the free association was afforded to Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Newfoundland, and also, interesting, South Africa, because they thought it would always be white, and Bermuda, because they thought Bermuda would always be controlled by the whites. They saw all the other territories, Jamaica, Trinidad, and all those, as black colonies. Those were the white colonies, the black colonies. And so they gave them, and they had that, and they gradually went towards it. But we had politicians here that refused to go out and claim what was rightfully theirs. Because these English people, they're the ones that voted it, they're the ones that drafted it. Subsequent to that, they had a change of heart. And our politicians, why here? Because we've had so many lying politicians that have told us the fear, refuse to tell us the truth of what our options are, refuse for the people to come here to explain for us, to discuss the possibilities. That is what has happened to us, and we've allowed them to control our minds, which is the worst kind of control people could have.
Caller,
lying politicians over the years.
Caller, I'm going to ask you to leave us there. We have 2 more callers queued up. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yeah, man.
Morning again, Doc.
Morning.
I want to good morning to your guest again. I just wanted to clarify what the Arden and the other guy said. It was in 1968 after the Wanabutu delegation came here.
Vinabubu, yes.
They were rebuffed by the people and chased away almost from the island because at that time Russia was the chairman of the Decolonization Committee. And the Caymanian people took that to mean that the United Nations was a communist body. That was the propaganda that was promulgated in Cayman. After they left, and I read about their visit to Cayman Islands. I was a student at the University of British Columbia. I was taking public international law and international relations, and I wrote a letter to apologizing on behalf of myself and other intelligent people in the Cayman Islands of what had happened, and saying that there were some of us who was like Mr. Omar Panton that we had followed all of those years who were interested in internal self-government for our own country. They took my letter and they turned it into a petition, and they started it in the United Nations. And as a result of that, I was told by the administration who was then in power, and I'm not going to call a name because some of them have families here, and sometimes when you say the facts that they get against you, but some of them, they told specific people to the message, I was not welcome back in Cayman Islands after I had done that because my petition was circulated in the United Nations, and it was an embarrassment to the administering country, the United Kingdom.
Yep.
I hope, Steve, we have moved away. I hope time has moved on and we have moved away.
But we haven't, because the other caller is telling us now that we still don't want him here. We haven't.
No. I was talking specifically
about his personal situation.
Yeah, and I hope that ignorance never comes back into this country, because.
Well, just let me tell you, when I appeared before them in 2010, I had my briefing from the cabinet, and I presented my briefing from the cabinet to them.
Yes.
And he said, certainly, Mr. McPhail, you have your own views about what you think is right. Would you like to share those with us? The floor is yours.
Oh, Lord, they shouldn't have done that.
I took an hour and a half, and I told them how we got to where we are.
Yes.
And the remarks of all of those countries were saying that I had demonstrated that we were entitled for further advancement of our Constitution. And because of that, they have never asked them to come back here, and they didn't want to come back here. That's the story.
Thank you very much, Doc.
And by the way, I have my reports for everything that I did. I have all those reports that I did, and my reports to cabinet that I did. And that's what I did to them.
Thank you very much, Doc. We're going to squeeze one more caller in before the commercial break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning, sir. How are you?
Morning.
Not bad.
Morning.
I'm going to zero in on exactly what we need to be talking about today.
Okay.
And that is the reason why the UN isn't welcomed here is because the government holds the view that they could deal with this matter on bilateral terms.
Okay.
And I think that's a mistake. The reason is the UK will make an agreement with you, and the next government will come along and backtrack. The purpose of being on the list of non-self-governing territories is that you have the benefit of the oversight of the UN as to whether any agreement is being carried out in the way that it should be. Meaning, are we truly in a political relationship with the imperial power to the extent that we are subordinate? And by what degree is that changing, and can be measured against known values that were established a long time ago? The UK is responsible as the administering power to facilitate our education on this information. But it is the UK, along with local government, who is the chief violator of in obstructing the process that would facilitate our education on this matter. Here's the reason. Constitutionally, this is the problem. The UK very craftily use the term devolved powers when it suits their agenda. The governor will go and be interviewed by the Compass and say things like, oh, that's a devolved matter when dealing with the same-sex marriage case. But then in the next breath, he says, oh, but if there are discrimination, that'll have to be dealt with.
And the nuclear option is always still there.
Right. And the problem is this, is that we don't have devolved powers. All we have are delegated powers. And those delegated powers can always be taken back. My evidence for that, Section 80, Section 81, Section 125 of the Constitution. And what we need to be focusing on is the fact that no, we can't deal with this on a bilateral basis with the UK. We need the oversight of the UN on this matter. There are countries who thought they could do it. Now they're trying to get back on the list.
Yeah, we need an honest broker, and that honest broker is the UN.
That's right. And they should be invited. The person who's responsible for inviting them here officially is either the governor himself or the government asking the governor to invite them.
Caller, I want to thank you very much for that. We have to take a commercial break. We still have one caller on hold when we return as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Why my wife always asking if I'm in a rush when she's the one always making us late?
Might as well say, yeah, I'm in a rush and go buy the new Toyota Rush you've been talking about. Cause they on sale this month. Dial teacher.
The super special spring SUV sale at Vant Motors. Save up to $4,400 with SUVs starting at only $23,500 like the 7-seater Toyota Rush. Save money, get cash back, or use the discount to upgrade features on the SUV of your choice, including the Toyota RAV4, the Fortuner, the Rush, or the Ford EcoSport. It's our super special spring SUV sale. Only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road. Rotaract Blue, in support of the Cayman Special Needs Community, present the 11th Annual Open Arms Gala, The Great Gatsby. Saturday, May 25th at Ristorante Papagayo. Cocktails begin at 6 p.m. 3-course dinner, award ceremony, silent auction at 7 p.m. Attire is Gatsby chic. Your ticket is only $100 per person. Your table only $1,500. Tickets available online at eventpro.ky or email president.rotaractblue@gmail.com. The Open Arms Program promotes care, understanding, and non-discrimination for disabled persons. The Great Gatsby by Rotaract Blue. Inspiration to the next generation.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Ray, are we ready for another CYSA?
Well, I hope so. Next topic is going to be phosphate mining and the railroad.
We had a railroad?
Well, we had a railway anyway. It was for the guano mining. Do you know what guano is?
Nope.
It's nice for bird poo-poo.
Bird poo-poo. This Friday, CYSA
is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
May the 17th, this Friday, CYSA.
Brought to you by Cayman National Bank, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
For the record with Ort Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record with Ort Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're going back to the phone lines. This is going to be the last call for the morning. We're going to close the phone lines off because we still have to discuss this foreign affairs committee report as well, recommendations and the government's response. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning to you, Mr. Hussey.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning to you. Just fine, thank you, sir. Good morning to your esteemed panel here. Is it Emilius? Mr. I just tuned in here. Mr. Arden McLean and Mr. Chris
Saunders and Mr. Suku.
And Mr. Suku. Good morning.
Morning.
First of all, Salwood, gentlemen, part of our elected representatives, our elected representatives. Gentlemen, there's a lot of talk, many times, talk. Sometimes it lasts for 4 years, kind of talk. I don't have the kind of faith at all that my friends, Mr. Billy Adam and Mr.
Warren
have in the United Nations at all. Don't have that faith in them. I believe what President Ronald Reagan said when he was in office for 4 years, or a little after 4 years, he said, I think the United States should get out of that organization. From the moment I had a man like Brutus Gali there as Secretary General, I lost all hope of faith in them. We know after the Second World War, the West Indian colonies they were, repeat that, were urged by Her Majesty's government, it was then His Majesty's government, to push ahead and form a federation. We know what happened with that. It was unworkable, untenable thing then. What you think about now? With a federation of the last colonies left. It's great to keep close to each other. It's great to rise, but we have our own ship to sail, so to speak. We knew, and we should take it as a fine example of how Jamaica, we like to criticize and whatever we can use to destroy what historically they did when they moved towards independence. Without most of the people I've ever heard speaking on it have no clue or knowledge how it came about and do not read our history. I don't sit in front of a computer and try to learn things like that. I read well-written books written by very, very important and knowledgeable people over the years. So they moved ahead with whom to find themselves moving. They knew it was unworkable. They knew the Federation, and most Jamaicans did not want to be involved in it when they had that final referendum. I think it was in November of '61. To vote together.
Caller, rather than repeating the facts, can you get to the point,
listen.
please?
Yes, I'm going to get to the point. That's why I said we need to use that. They use their own representatives to move their constitution forward. That's what they did. To a point where by 1957, the British governor there was mostly a ceremonial position. You don't have to believe me at all. I'm just a half idiot interested in our history. Our history is written by Caymanians as it should be. But that's what they did. And they did it incrementally and forcefully from 1953. That started from about 1938 with the Forum riot. And then eventually, by they had made the decision, the referendum, 1961, to come out of the Federation completely. Then Mr. Manley, the then Premier, said, I now will prepare our country, my people, for independence. And that was it. By February 62, they had a constitution written up. That constitution was so far advanced that just a few more steps into it and changes by them, the elected representatives, moved it into a position of independence, prepared right, wrong. They were exporting millions of pounds of goods by then. We all know that. But they had their preparation done by the people who elected them. The same thing we have here now. We have 19 people elected, who can get together and move us forward, move us, the Constitution forward. I don't believe that every amendment we need to bring us into a more advanced and autonomous situation needs to go before the people in a referendum, because referendums are divided.
Caller, you're getting into another subject now. We're going to have to cut you off there because we have to go to another discussion. Gentlemen, the last caller says it's in the hands of the 19 representatives of our legislative assembly. I pointed out that recommendation number 9 and the FCO's response in relation to belongership and voting rights, that all lay in the hands of us in the Cayman Islands. Basically what the FCO has said. They have no intentions of making any other recommendations. Your views on those, please.
First of all, sorry, not coming out of the FCO. I at this point, or even Britain, I take serious. I think Brexit have made the UK a joke. Mm-hmm. I think Denny Warren did touch on something in terms of getting the United Nations inside here to, I guess, broker any deal, because even though the UK government of Theresa May, and I put that in quotation, may have dismissed the committee reports, as an elected representative, I still have to ask the question, what happens the day when the members of those committees now then turns around and form a government? Will that then be the new position of the government? So you have a position that is taken by the current government.
One government can't bind the other.
That can't. that doesn't hold water the future government. Whereas, and this is the difference between treaties versus what it is that we have. So, having what it is we have here, definitely can't continue. One of the things I also bear in mind is what happened in Singapore, where Singapore, being a part of Malaysia, and basically were just, in essence, kicked out and found themselves on their own. And what we in the Cayman Islands need to recognize that the decision or the discussion with regards to independence goes both ways. The people in the UK also have a say in this. And if just as though they can get up to yesterday and vote that they wanted not more to do with their neighbors in Europe, what's to stop them tomorrow of getting up and saying, we don't want anything to do with our territories? Either you become part of Britain or you go on your own. I mean, at some point, that decision is going to come. What we need to do is make sure we don't find our people flat-footed, and at a minimum, we ourselves are at least prepared for whichever way the decision make. But people in this country don't want to have that conversation.
Mrs. Suku?
Well, see, having had the benefit of going to London and discussing the constitutional advancement and changes to the Constitution, I can say here today that the UK is willing to take this conversation as far as Section 125, not beyond. They are not going to allow any movement to remove that or to change that. So if we want to go beyond that, we need to then set the date. I don't have an issue with having that conversation. And it's unfortunate that when people do bring up the topic of independence, it's a bad word. And it is, you're a radical or you're unstable or whatever they might want to label, might want to put on it. But it is a sensible conversation to have, and we need to have it. If you look at what is happening within these islands here today, and you ask yourself the question, are we ready for independence? The answer is clearly no. But do we want to continually be in that position for all eternity, that we always say no to that question? What we should be doing, if we're smart, is preparing for the inevitable, which I don't know when it will happen, but it will happen one day. But be prepared. So if we have the conversation and we start to put things in place, like I said, developing new industries, diversifying and so forth, so that when if we do get to that point, we're not taken by surprise, we're not caught off guard. But if we continue to dodge the bullet and shy away from the topic, we're going to go down a road that makes it more difficult for us to continue and be sustainable and support our people. Mm-hmm. We have to be open-minded now and in a position where we're going to have the conversation.
I agree, Mr. McLean.
I have said before, the reason FAC can make such broad, sweeping recommendations is that there's only one on FAC, one member of FAC, as I am aware of, that has even been to the overseas territories that are even connected to the territories, and that is Andrew Rosendahl. Mm-hmm. And look at that first report,
But can we focus on, as legislators here in the Cayman Islands, now that the FCU has said that immigration is an issue that has been left up to the territories. As far as voting rights are concerned, you all have pointed out, probably off air rather than on air, because we were discussing it off air as well, is that they allowed it in our Constitution for us to have the
absolutely, and I
like
said that.
So from a legislative standpoint, what should we be doing now to enhance, or do we need to do any more to enhance the protection of Caymanians when it comes to belongership and residency?
I don't see anything else that needs to be done to prevent them from voting. That process is there. Maybe we need to tweak it to ensure that there's no loopholes in it, that they can go to court with a judicial review and get it done. And if there are any loopholes, we need to close them to ensure that
eventually their families will be able to run.
Right.
Well, the second generation.
What about its sensitivities that the FCO has spoken about? We understand OT's concerns, sensitivities, and historical background on the issue. The historical background on the issue and the sensitivities are that we cannot allow ourselves to lose our identity and to lose our community and everything
This is
else.
the same country that voted for Brexit on the basis of immigration, where they didn't want foreigners telling them what to do, and they wonder why people can't take them serious. Come on now, man.
Exactly. Okay. One of our listeners says that you still haven't answered Dr. Macfield's question in relation to who will be the leader of the opposition.
I don't know if that was the exact question, but in the fullness of time, we have been we have been officially notified that the leader of the opposition has now resigned. We have now been officially notified, and we are going to be responding to that letter to the governor today.
Okay, gentlemen, we're going to continue this conversation at 11 o'clock. This morning, so you take a breakfast break, and we come back at 11.
Sure, I'm
only kidding, folks. I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension, for the record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to thank our three panelists again for such engaging conversation, and
we will come to the public after we have discussed this with the governor.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I want to thank all of those persons who have called in with their comments. I apologize for those of you who I didn't simply have enough time to give you the quality time that you need to discuss certain issues, but the show will continue, God's willing, and there will be opportunities to discuss those as well. I also want to remind you that we are brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. Say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling, Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.